This is the second part of Chapter 7. Okay, you slime. 50 years off your sentence. I want amnesty. In your dreams, Mulch. Take it or leave it. 75 years in minimum security? You take it or leave it. Mulch pretended to think. It was all academic, seeing as he intended escaping anyway. Single cell? Yes, yes, single cell. Now will you do it? Very well, Julius. Only because it's you. Foley was searching for a matching iris cam. Hazel, I think, or perhaps tawny. You really do have stunning eyes, Mr. Mulch. Thank you, Foley. My mother always said they were my most attractive feature. Root was pacing the shuttle floor. You two do realize we're on a deadline here, don't you? Never mind matching the color, just give him a camera. Foley plucked the lens from its solution with tweezers. This is not just vanity, Commander. The closer the match, the less interference from the actual eye. Whatever, just get on with it. Foley grabbed Mulch's chin, holding him still. There you are. We're with you all the way. Foley twisted a tiny cylinder into the thick tufts of hair growing from Mulch's ear. Wired for sound now, too, in case you need a call for assistance. The dwarf smiled wryly. Forgive me for not swelling with confidence. I find I've always done better on my own. If you can call 17 convictions doing better, chuckled Root. Oh, we have time for jokes now, do we? Root grabbed him by the shoulder. You're right, we don't. Let's go. He dragged Mulch across a grassy verge to a cluster of cherry trees. I want you to tunnel in there and find out how this Fowl person knows so much about us. Probably some surveillance device. Whatever it is, destroy it. Find Captain Short, if possible, and see what we can do for her. If she is dead, at least it will clear the way for a biobomb. Mulch squinted across the landscape. I don't like it. What don't you like? The lie of the land. I smell limestone, solid rock foundation. There might not be a way in. Foley trotted across. I've done a scan. The original structure is based totally on rock, but some of the later extensions stray onto clay. The wine cellar in the south wing appears to have a wooden floor. It should be no problem for someone with a mouth like yours. Mulch decided to take that as a statement of fact rather than an insult. He opened the bum flap on his tunneling trousers. Right. Stand back. Root and the surrounding LEP officers rushed for cover, but Foley, who had never actually seen a dwarf tunneling, decided to stay for a peek. Good luck, Mulch. The dwarf unhinged his jaw. Ank-oo, he mumbled, bending over for launch. The centaur looked around. Where's everyone? He never finished that statement because a blob of recently swallowed and even more recently recycled clay whacked him in the face. By the time he'd cleared his eyes, Mulch had disappeared down a vibrating hole, and there was the sound of hearty laughter shaking the cherry trees. Mulch followed a loamy vein through a volcanic fold in the rock. Nice consistency, not too many loose stones. Plenty of insect life, too. Vital for strong, healthy teeth. A dwarf's most important attribute, the first thing a prospective mate looked at. Mulch went low to the limestone, his belly almost scraping the rock. The deeper the tunnel, the less change of subsidence on the surface. You couldn't be too careful these days, not with motion sensors and landmines. Mud people went to extraordinary lengths to protect their valuables, with good reason as it happened. Mulch felt a vibration cluster to his left. Rabbits. The dwarf fixed the location in his internal compass. Always useful to know where the local wildlife hung out. He skirted the warren, following the manor foundations around in a long northwesterly loop. Wine cellars were easy to locate. Over the centuries, residue seeped through the floor, infusing the land beneath with the wine's personality. This one was somber, nothing cheeky here. A touch of fruit, but not enough to lighten the flavor. Definitely an occasion wine on the bottom rack. Mulch burped. That was good clay. The dwarf aimed his scything jaws skywards, punching through the floorboards. He hauled himself through the jagged hole, shaking the last of the recycled mud from his trousers. He was in a blessedly dark room, perfect for dwarf vision. His sonar had guided him to an uncovered spot in the floor. 1 meter to the left, and he would have emerged in a huge barrel of Italian red. Mulch rehinged his jaw and patted across to the wall. He flattened a conch-like ear to the red brickwork. For a moment he was absolutely still, absorbing the house's vibrations. A lot of low-frequency humming. There was a generator somewhere and plenty of juice running through the wires. Footsteps, too, way up. Maybe on the 3rd floor, and close by, a crashing sound, metal on concrete. There it was again. Someone was building something, or breaking something down. Something skittered past his foot. Mulch squashed it instinctively. It was a spider. Just a spider. "Sorry, little friend," he said to the gray smear. "I'm a bit on the jittery side." The steps were wooden, of course, more than a century old, too, by the smell of them. Steps like that creaked as soon as you looked at them. Better than any pressure pads for giving away intruders. Mulch climbed along the edges, 1 foot in front of the other. Right in by the wall was where the wood had most support and was less likely to creak. This was not as simple as it sounds. Dwarf feet are designed for spade work, not for the delicate intricacies of ballet dancing or balancing on wooden steps. Nonetheless, Mulch reached the door without incident. A couple of minor squeaks, but nothing that would be detectable by human ears or hardware. The door was locked naturally, but it may as well not have been for all the challenge it presented to a kleptomaniac dwarf. Mulch reached into his beard, plucking out a sturdy hair. Dwarf hair is radically different from the human variety. Mulch's beard and head hair were actually a matrix of antennae that helped him to navigate and avoid danger below ground. Once removed from its pore, the hair immediately stiffened in rapid rigor mortis. Mulch twisted the end in the seconds before it became completely rigid. A perfect pick. 1 quick jiggle and the lock yielded. Only 2 tumblers. Terrible security. Typical of humans, they never expected an attack from below. Mulch stepped onto a parquet corridor. The whole place smelled of money. He could make a fortune here, if only he had the time. There were cameras just below the architrave. Tastefully done, nestling in the natural shadows, but vigilant nonetheless. Mulch stood for a moment, calculating the system's blind spot. 3 cameras on the corridor. 90-second sweep. No way through. "You could ask for help," said a voice in his ear. "Foley?" Mulch pointed his wired eyeball at the nearest camera. "Can you do anything about those?" he asked. The dwarf heard the sound of a keyboard being manipulated, and suddenly his right eye zoomed like a camera lens. "Handy," breathed Mulch. "I've got to get me one of these." Root's voice crackled through the tiny speaker. "No chance, convict. Government issue. Anyway, what would you do with one in prison? Get a close-up of the other side of your cell?" "You're such a charmer, Julius. What's the matter? Are you jealous because I'm succeeding where you failed?" Root's foul swearing was drowned out by Foley. "Okay, I've got it. Simple video network, not even digital. I'm going to broadcast a loop of the last 10 seconds to every camera through our dishes. That should give you a few minutes." Mulch shuffled uncomfortably. "How long will that take? I'm a bit exposed here, you know." "It's already started," replied Foley, "so get moving." "Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure. Elementary electronics. I've been messing with human surveillance since kindergarten. You'll just have to trust me." "I'd rather trust a bunch of humans not to hunt a species to extinction than trust an LEP consultant," thought Mulch. But aloud he said, "Okay, I'm away. Over and out." He sneaked down the hall. Even his hands were sneaky, patting the air as if he could somehow make himself lighter. Whatever that centaur did must have worked, because there were no agitated mud people racing down the stairs, waving primitive gunpowdered weapons. Stairs. Ah, stairs. Mulch had a thing for stairs. They were like pre-dug shafts. He found that inevitably the best booty lay at their summit. And what a stairway! Stained oak, with the intricate carvings generally associated with either the 18th century or the obscenely rich. Mulch rubbed his finger along the ornate banister. In this case, probably both. Still, no time to moon about. Stairways did not tend to remain deserted for long, especially during a siege. Who could tell how many bloodthirsty troopers waited behind each door, eager for a fairy head to add to their stuffed trophy wall? Mulch climbed carefully, taking nothing for granted. Even solid oak creaked. He stuck to the borders, avoiding the carpet inlay. The dwarf knew from conviction number 8 how easy it was to conceal a pressure pad beneath the deep shag of some antique weave. He reached the landing with his head still attached to his shoulders. But there was another problem quite literally brewing. Dwarf digestion, due to its accelerated rate, can be quite explosion. The loosely packed soil on the Fowl estate was very well aerated, and a lot of that air had entered Mulch's tubes along with the soil and minerals. Now the air wanted out. Dwarf etiquette dedicated that gas be passed while still in the tunnel, but Mulch didn't have time for manners. Now he regretted not taking a moment to get rid of the gas while he was in the cellar. The problem with dwarf gas was that it couldn't go up, only down. Imagine, if you will, the catastrophic events of burping while digesting a mouthful of clay. Total system backup. Not a pretty sight. Thus, dwarf anatomy ensured that all gas was passed below, actually aiding in the expulsion of unwanted clay. Of course, there's a simpler way of putting this, but that version can only be read in the adult book. Mulch wrapped his arms around his stomach. He'd better get out of the open. A blowout on a landing like this could take out the windows. He shuffled along the corridor, skipping through the first doorway he encountered. More cameras, quite a lot of them in fact. Mulch studied the lens's sweep. 4 were surveying the general floor space, but another 3 were fixed. "Foley, you there?" whispered the dwarf. "No." The typical sarcastic reply. "I have much better things to do than worry about the collapse of civilization as we know it." "Yes, thank you. Don't let my life being in danger interrupt your merriment." "I'll try not to." "I have a challenge for you." Foley was instantly interested. "Really? Go on." Mulch pointed his gaze at the recessed cameras, half hidden in the swirling architrave. "I need to know where those 3 cameras are pointing." "Exactly." Foley laughed. "That's not a challenge. Those old video systems emit faint ion beams. Invisible to the naked eye, of course, but not with your iris cam." The hardware in Mulch's eye flickered and sparked. "Ow!" "Sorry, small charge." "You could have warned me." "I'll give you a big kiss later, you baby. I thought dwarves were tough." "We are tough. I'll show you just how tough when I get back." Root's voice interrupted the posturing. "You won't be showing anyone anything, convict, except perhaps where the toilet is in your cell. Now, what do you see?" Mulch looked at the room again through his ion-sensitive eye. Each camera was emitting a faint beam, like the last evening's sunrays. The rays pooled on a portrait of Artemis, Fowl Sr. "Not behind the picture." "Oh, please." Mulch placed his ear against the picture glass. Nothing electrical. Not alarmed then. Just to be sure, he sniffed the frame's edge. No plastic or copper. Wood, steel, and glass. Some lead in the paint. He curled a nail behind the frame and pulled. The picture came away smoothly, hinged on the side, and behind it, a safe. "It's a safe," said Foley. "I know that, you idiot. I'm trying to concentrate here. If you want to help, tell me the combination." "No problem. Oh, by the way, there's another little shot coming. Maybe the big baby would like to suck his thumb for comfort." "Foley, I'm going to—" "Ow!" "There. That's the X-ray on." All right, you guys, I'll continue with the next section soon.